Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to pose a thought-provoking question to all of us who enjoy designer handbags. The question is, if you were to find out that in 18 months, the value of your designer handbags would go down to zero, meaning that your handbags would be worth nothing in 18 months, how would you feel? Would you hold on to all of your designer handbags, cherish them for what they are, and use them and enjoy them for the rest of your life? Would you try to sell them off as quickly as possible to recoup your money before that 18 months comes around? Would you be confused and scared, or would you not care very much? I'm curious, and I'd like to know your comments down below because this is something that I've been thinking about for a little while now. I don't know why this question popped up in my head, but it has, and it's been percolating for a while, and I thought I would bring it to this community so we can have an actual conversation about it. So here, for demonstrative purposes, I've got two of my bags. This is the Chanel Classic Flat Bag, and the other one next to me is the Hermes Birkin 30. So I've chosen the two most classic bags in my collection, probably the most well-known when it comes to designer handbags, and sometimes considered the sort of creme de la creme, whether you agree with that or not. I thought these were highly recognizable, so I would showcase these two here. So here is my medium-sized beige Claire Caviar with gold hardware. I'll just put that down for the moment, and then I'll open this one here. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts, and I'm also going to reference an interesting study that was done by Credit Suisse recently, talking about how designer handbags are going to be the best collectible investment over the next 12 months. All right, hang on a minute. Before any of you get excited and any of you start thinking, okay, this is the perfect justification for me to go out and do some major shopping and acquire even more designer handbags, because why not? Credit Suisse is saying that designer handbags are going to be the best collectible investment over the next 12 months. So shouldn't I go out and buy more? Hold on, pause. A few things to consider. Number one, this is one study out of how many? I don't know, but one study from one company. Okay, so it's like a drop in an ocean. Number two, these studies are based off of analysts' predictions. They're trying to predict the future, which we know nobody can. Yes, they might have previous data and trends to back up their predictions, but again, there are no guarantees about what's going to happen in the future. So this is their best guess. They think that designer handbags might be good collectible investments over the next 12 months. Now, over the next 12 months is also a very short time period. You can't really do all that much in 12 months unless you're going to be hyper-focused and really strategic and very aggressive about this, where you go out and selectively buy the most rare, most coveted designer handbags that you believe will sell for more in the next 12 months. Okay, so this is a huge gamble. Let me further expand on the study done by Credit Suisse. So they say that designer handbags may be the best collectible investment over the next 12 months. They also say that the designer handbags, it's mostly just Hermes and Chanel, have gone up about 92% over the last decade. That's faster growth in value than things like jewelry or art. So that's interesting for us to know. But if you expand the full spectrum of the study that they did, actually designer handbags did not grow as fast as categories such as wine, cars, like exotic cars, and the biggest growth was in whiskey. It was like over 400% growth over the last decade. Whiskey, yeah. So we've got some drinkers and some fine whiskey drinkers out there. Now, I don't drink alcohol. I also don't enjoy cars, and I don't like driving because I live in Manhattan. So am I going to go out and start buying a bunch of cars and a bunch of whiskey because I've been told in this study that that's going to be even better to invest in over the next 12 months? No, because those are just things. They don't have intrinsic value. They're not like, for example, precious metals where there's a limited resource, right? And I have no interest in them, so it's kind of a lose-lose for me. Whereas designer handbags, I happen to enjoy them, and I imagine you do too if you're watching this channel. And so it's kind of like you get the enjoyment, you get the functional use out of it on a day-to-day basis. It might work for your wardrobe, it might make you feel nice, it might make you feel put together, it might give you some kind of sensation that other items don't give you. And yes, they cost a lot of money, but for you subjectively, they may be worth it. At least that's the way I see it. And on top of that, they may retain their value, or better yet, in some very few cases, you might be able to make a profit off of these items in the future. So that is a win-win, right? But do you buy them exclusively to make money off of them? Because that's really what an investment is. When I think about investing in the stock market, I don't enjoy stocks. I don't get joy out of owning a stock. I don't get to use a stock the way I use my handbags. I purchase stock in certain companies because I want to make money. That is an investment. I purchase real estate in certain areas that I know will go up or I believe will go up because I want to make money. I want to recoup my money and get profits on top of that. So how we categorize investments versus collectible investments, that's the term that Credit Suisse is using, is very different in my mind. So again, I ask you, if someone were to tell you that your designer handbags that you own today will be worth absolutely nothing in the next 18 months, what would you do? Would you stop purchasing more designer handbags or would you keep going? Would you sell them all off or try to sell as much as you can? Or would you just use them and enjoy them for the rest of your lifetime? What would you do? I'm really curious because I know what I would do. I would have a certain number of handbags that I would put in a category that's labeled lifetime use or enjoyment. These are handbags that I purchase because I love them aesthetically. I like how they look, the way they feel, the way they make me feel, how they work for my lifestyle. And so they check a lot of boxes. And while they might have been expensive, I believe they're well made. They have good quality. And so I would keep them. Then there are a handful of other handbags in my collection that I would put in a separate category, and that is the sell them as fast as I can so I can get some of my money back, or hopefully all of my money back. Because if I'm truly brutally honest, there are handbags in my collection that I don't absolutely adore every day. Sometimes I love them, sometimes I don't. And some of them are redundant, meaning that I have similar style handbags that are doing its job or less expensive and are doing perfectly fine, and I don't need the expensive version. So yeah, I would be very strategic and I would sell off or try to sell off those few in that category. So what would you do? I really want to know. Please let me know your comments down below. This could be kind of a sort of sadistic / scary conversation to have, but let's be honest here. Let's not be naive about this. If brands can go up in value and certainly up in price, it is not entirely impossible that brands will drop in value and in price over time. You never know. I mean, look at some brands where, like Bottega Veneta, for example, they were hot and then they were not for a long time, and then they were hot again because of Daniel Lee. Now, what's going to happen in the next few years with this brand? Who knows, right? There are other brands where they were so coveted, and then new brands came onto the scene and ate up their share of the market, and now they're having to share, and the glory is not all there for that one brand that was previously kind of owning the show. Let's also take Balenciaga for an example. We all know what's happening with Balenciaga. Major scandal at the moment, very inappropriate images and content and use of children in their latest campaigns. And there are a lot of people out there that are being very vocal and saying that they own Balenciaga, but they're going to slash and burn the items that they own, and they're going to boycott the brand forever and never purchase from them again. Now, whether they're going to be really true to their word and actually do that, who knows? But they're actually making a statement about how much they despise the brand at the moment, and that's got to hurt the brand and the brand equity for sure. I know personally people who are trying to sell their Balenciaga bags and nobody will buy them. And I bet that major resale sites like Fashionphile are not accepting bags from Balenciaga because that is a liability for them to accept bags that probably won't sell, at least in the short term, and they have to hold on to that inventory, and that's costly for companies like Fashionphile. So overnight, it seems like a brand that was considered one of the it brands of 2022 and associated with some of the biggest names in Hollywood and the biggest celebrities has now fallen from its high perch, and nobody wants to be associated with them, okay? So that could happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Hermes or Chanel. They have very long-standing histories and they operate in very different ways than brands like Balenciaga. But again, you never know. Even if they don't find themselves in some kind of scandalous situation, maybe the entire perception of luxury will shift over time. Maybe consumers will get tired of the idea of luxury altogether, or they will get tired of the price increases, or they feel like, they want to tighten up and be more sensible and more frugal with their money because we're in this sort of recessionary environment. And maybe that will last another decade. Who knows? We cannot predict the future. So all these headlines circulating about how designer handbags are such great investments, they make me cringe because it's just a headline. It's very splashy, but you really have to get underneath it and really understand what's exactly happening, and also what are the possibilities, what are the other things that could happen in the future that nobody's talking about today. And so that's why I wanted to ask this very controversial question. What if instead of the value going up, your handbags were worth nothing tomorrow? What would you do? I know personally, I'm already feeling like I have so many handbags and I enjoy most of them and I'm happy that I do have them, but I have so many, more than I need, more than I ever thought I'd have. And I've talked about this before in other videos, and I am at my max capacity. I am super abundantly happy and overwhelmed and fulfilled or satisfied or content. Yes, content is the word with what I have. And sometimes I feel actually burdened by the quantity that I have. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed to the point where I feel like I want to just get rid of all of them. I do have those moments. I don't know if you guys do. So now thinking about this possibility of this alternate universe that designer handbags may not be worth anything in the future, I'm really thinking, I'm good. I'm good with what I have right now. I may actually start to let a few go in the future. I'm not in any rush because as much as I don't condone panic buying, I also don't condone or encourage panic selling because any form of panic movement is probably going to lead to regret. But think about it. Whenever I do videos on price increases, like I do Chanel price increase videos and Louis Vuitton price increase videos, I also did a recent YSL price increase video. And whenever I do that, many of you reach out and comment saying, okay, now I'm going to run out and panic buy because now that I know that an increase is coming in the next couple of weeks, I want to get ahead of that. Okay. Now, if you always wanted that item anyway, hey, why pay more? Might as well act fast and get the current price versus paying, 10-20% more tomorrow. But some of you, let's admit, run out and just buy anything that catches your eye from the brand because you don't want to feel FOMO, which is the fear of missing out in the future when the prices do go up. A lot of times I do think that leads to regret and buyer's remorse. And I think on the flip side, if you panic sell, it's the same thing. You might regret selling, you might miss the item quite a bit. And then I know also many of you have shared with me that you would go ahead and buy the item again for the second or third time, now paying the markup post price increases. So it's kind of a vicious cycle if we get stuck in that. So I'm not going to panic sell anything. I'm not going to panic buy anything, but I wanted to really sit with this question and think about it because I feel like it really gets underneath the psychology of all of this and why we buy and what we intend to do with our designer handbags longer term. So do leave a comment down below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found it to be interesting in some way. And if you enjoy this type of content, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join this amazing community. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.